dang damn it, let's play them all those animations. Now the one that I didn't play because I just didn't feel like it, but I think we're missing the little behind the scenes dance is the countdown.
Yeah,
But we'll
where's our countdown? I need to
you need
jam
to
out to that.
you need to jam out, right?
Gets me in the mood.
Welcome, every. It's been a mood, but I said it earlier before we went on. I said I wasn't gonna drink, but I'm gonna have to.
What are you drinking?
Bec- because this episode, a little Blue Moon, Belgian white.
No,
Let's see what
got some
happens. Oh, very nice.
the old classic Sam Adams Winter Lager.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. So we got some great followers that have joined us in the chat. We got a new follower, a Black Jedi. Thank you for joining us here on the Scare of Scuttlebutt podcast. I'm not screaming, am I? I think it's I just came back from a TV live shot, so I'm in that reporter
Why
mode.
am I talking so loudly?
Why? And oh my God, I'm so super excited. The one, the only Luke Skywalker, our Jedi Master extraordinaire, has joined us as well. I don't know about you, but I can die comfortable now,
I
knowing
just
that.
want to quote. I want to quote Roe from the last couple shows. Can you just imagine if a T-65 X-wing were to pull up in this episode? I
Oh
mean, how
man,
badass would that be? Nah, nah, nah. So I say, no, it can't be Luke Skywalker. They would never do that. They don't have the balls to put Luke Skywalker on this show. It's going to be one of our, second tier Jedi. It's going to be, Cal Kestis. It's not going to be Luke. No, it'd be pretty cool if a T-65 X-wing were to show up. Well, there you go. You had the first laugh. You had the last laugh. That's the story of this season. I've been wrong every single time, and I'm completely okay with it.
and here's the funny thing. I mean, again, you talked about the Hail Mary and it was a long
I was
shot.
close.
Go for the long shot, Brad.
Yeah.
Home run, goal, whatever the term is. But I that's what I wanted. I think I said it before. I think Luke was the only one that made sense, narratively speaking. I didn't think it was going to happen. I really didn't think it was going to happen. But yeah, we'll talk about it when we get there to that point. But holy cow. I want to. Wow, there's a lot of people in the chat. Thank you guys for joining us on our Sunday Scare Live. A special surprise. I know we teased it a couple minutes ago, but we are super happy and super privileged to have our sisters from Red 5 Network join us, Forces of Light. I'm going to bring them out in a second. But Brad, how are you doing over there, man?
I can't complain. I'm looking forward to Christmas this week, and we got our early Christmas present on Friday with this episode. Um, as we've been saying the last few episodes, it's a great time to be a Star Wars fan, and they gave us a couple more reasons to be happy to be Star Wars fans this week. So we'll get into all that. But how's life in the Windy City?
Life in the Windy City. It was a beautiful day today in Chicago. I walked around, did my thing without a jacket, but once 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, once the sun started to kind of go down, it got a little chilly. I had to bring the jacket back on. But yeah, life is good, man. Look at everybody in the chat. We got Phoenix Nightflame, Dale, Wesley Snipes, y'all, Backyard TARDIS, and Mr. Rez. Who else we got? Dave. Again, thank you for staying up way past your bedtime. We're gonna try to make this one a little. I don't know if we can make it shorter, man, because this one
No,
is really
he knows what he's in for. Oh, and
yeah.
I forgot I was going to start off with our public service announcement about knowing your geography and knowing your history and your culture. I was uh, inaccurately accused Dave of being British, and that was
That's right.
completely, totally wrong. He is from the great, fantastic country of Wales, England's neighbor, but definitely not England, with a completely rich history of their own. So, yes, a member of the UK, but definitely not England. So, thank you to our Welsh friend. And he sent me a message of all the different contributions that the folks of Wales have had to the Star Wars universe, and they are massive. I mean, uh, cast and crew.
Yeah.
Star Wars wouldn't be the same without the Welsh contribution. So thank you to Wales, and thank you for Dave for not taking it too personally when I called you a dirty Brit. So I mean, I don't mean that to all of our English, both of our English listeners, but thanks, Dave, for being here. But we couldn't have this party just by ourselves, could we?
We could not have this party by ourselves. We wanted to join our sisters, like I said, our sisters of the Red 5 Network, two of the most wonderful ladies that we have on board, Forces of Light Entertainment. Let's bring them on, and they just finished their live stream as well. And I'm really glad that they were able to join us. Hold on a second here. Let's push a couple of buttons and switch them up over here. Ladies, how's it going?
Hello.
Yeah, it's going good. Thanks for I was excited when you guys asked us to come on.
Yes, glad to be here.
Well, there's too much fun to have on our own. We had to share. No, you guys have been talking about it since Friday, and all the ugly tears that were shed.
Oh, there was some ugly tears from her.
She's putting it all on me, but I think she had a few of her own.
I sympathetically cried once I heard loud bursts of tears from behind me.
So
I had to let it out. It was only healthy.
Yeah. So you liked this episode a little bit, is what you're saying?
I did.
Oh, it was just fantastic.
It had me in my feelings for sure.
I mean, I couldn't even believe it got Natalie up out of the couch screaming. Like, that's what it did.
Absolutely. So we'll get to that part because I too, and I just watched it. I watched it the third time with my son, and it's wonderful to watch it with other people that haven't seen it, or obviously your children, because you're watching it through their eyes, and it's really super exciting. So yeah, he got up multiple times and started jumping around, and it was really great. So Brad, how do you want to start out? We have a lot to talk about. Let's go for it.
Yeah, they get right to it with the action. We open it up, and there's a Lambda class shuttle. I know we both appreciate the Lambda class shuttle being chased by none other than the Slave One. Got to say, as always, I love the sound effects coming from the Slave One. Those lasers are just amazing. But they got right to it with that dialogue between the Imperial pilot and with Cara Dune. And that was a pretty dark Imperial pilot there when he asked her if she was on Alderaan and how he saw Alderaan being blown up from the Death Star. It reminded me of both of our our episode on propaganda as well as our conversation with Claudia Gray with Lost Stars and how the Empire saw the destruction of Alderaan and how they looked on the rebels as terrorists. So they raised some pretty good questions and has some pretty deep dialogue right off the bat. What do you think of that scene?
Ladies, you guys can go first.
Do you want to go or do you want me to go?
Yeah, you can go.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed the scene, and I think for me, Kara's reactions and him playing with her is what made that so good. Of him just like, it's like he basically wanted to die at that point. Like he just kept pushing her button.
It seemed that way. It's like, yeah, and when she says, like you'd said in the live stream, like, which one? It's like she was just like, come on, give me a little more ammunition. That's all I need.
Yeah, I mean, he's sitting there
just kept going.
I mean, taunting her about watching her homeworld just blown to smithereens. And I mean, it was basically almost like the way there can be suicide by cop, it was almost like suicide by Cara Dune, Ranger of the New Republic.
Yeah, good point. Good point. It was again, Brad, you mentioned it. The fact that I think we pointed one or two people to our propaganda episode because it really, really reminded me of that discussion that we had and how, one side can be, can have those terrorist attributions, but it just depends on who writes the history books. It depends on who is telling the story. So definitely an interesting thing, and I love the fact that they're kind of bringing that back into Star Wars, a little bit of the behind the scenes politics, which is always intriguing to me. I know a lot of people like the lightsabers, laser swords, and pew pews, but I'm also into the the politics of the motivation of all these characters, and it's always a fascinating thing.
Yeah, I thought he was the one that said he didn't have a death wish, but I guess maybe that was his partner flying the shuttle that said that, because if he didn't have a death wish, he sure didn't act like it, taunting Kara like that. And yeah, he quickly got what was coming to him, care of Cara Dune. Uh, and I don't think Din Djarin had any problem with that either.
No.
Um, I mean, she lost everybody, and that's why she joined the New Republic. But they take Slave One quickly, meeting up back with Bo-Katan. Did you think we were going to see the Bo-Katan and her crew, or at least some of her crew, on this episode, ladies?
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think they've been setting that up.
The paths were kind of aligning for that to happen.
Yeah, and I didn't know would it happen organically, like she happens to just track him down, trying to get the Darksaber, and they meet. But I mean, it worked out. Of course, he just went and found her.
Yeah, and what a shot that. I was going to talk about that shot right there when they landed with the Lambda class shuttle there, Slave One, and Bo-Katan ship. That was a piece of art.
I love when Star Wars, and they've done this a couple of times, I love when Star Wars hangs on a shot for just a little bit. And Dale had mentioned something about my volume, so I'm hoping I made some adjustments, so I'm hoping it's better. But I love when Star Wars kind of hangs on a shot, so it gives you the time to appreciate the scenery. Somebody had pointed out that there was a Corellian freighter that flew overhead, so I don't know. We're gonna have to kind of look, behind there and see. But I love that shot. I loved it a lot, and I think that's when they were coming down the ramp of Boba Fett's ship. But what about that scene in the bar? That was an amazing thing. A couple of things that we had to touch on as far as the story and how. I love that discussion between Boba Fett and what's her name? What is her name?
So we have Casca Reeves. Obviously, Bo-Katan's there, and Casca Reeves is the other character. And what I love about what Tamora Morrison's doing is he's playing this differently than he played Jango. You can tell a distinct difference between Boba Fett and Jango Fett. I think Jango was a little more professional, but Boba has much more of an edge to him. And I think, same actor, so to play two different characters like that, I think he's doing a great job. But that was those were some pretty damning accusations from Bo-Katan and from Casca Reeves, saying that he wasn't a Mandalorian and calling Jango his donor instead of his father. Force of Light, what did you think about that scene and that interaction there?
Yeah, that was an intense scene.
It was. It seemed like a lot of bad blood between them.
And,
yeah. And what does he say? It never said that I was.
Yeah, because she's like, you're not a Mandalorian.
Yeah.
It was almost like a fight in school.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she said, I've heard your voice 1,000 times before. So Filoni being Filoni takes it right back to the Clone Wars cartoon. And, they did have those conversations about the Fets on the Clone Wars cartoon, saying that Jango wasn't. Oh, look, there's Grogu. We get to see him again. Mine's sleeping upstairs, of course. But yeah, and then we get into a little fight. And I got to say again, I love how jetpacks are being used by the Mandalorians and all these little tangles that they have. That was quite the fight between Boba and Casca Reeves, I think.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
I just want to acknowledge folks in the chat. Fandaz, thank you for joining us. Followers of the Force Podcast. David, hope you're enjoying the discussion. And FACPA Podcast, what is up? Thank you very much. Amanda, one of our patrons, thank you very much for joining us. So, yeah, I really loved that interaction in the bar. A lot of things were said. And that roughness between the characters was really, really great. I think where else have we seen the jetpacks being used like that in hand-to-hand battles? I think Rebels, Clone Wars. Dave Filoni is obviously bringing in some of that fighting style into this show, and I love it. It really looks great.
and it looks natural. It's they've integrated it perfectly into these fight scenes. They're not making a big deal about it. Just a little boost from the jetpack, give them a little edge.
Sure.
But I like how they had a little tussle and then they kept going. I think it's a very Mandalorian thing to do. So then they went ahead and made their plan. Fennec Shand, of course, is with them. And I love, that we got the news this week. I don't know if you saw that, but she announced, her actress, Ming, announced on Twitter that was definitely her in the trailer that we got for the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
So it looks like we're getting a lot more history on Fennec Shand, and really looking forward to that. But I like how they schemed and they did their little plan to get aboard the cruiser. And of course, we have Dr. Pershing and all this. And what do you guys think about Dr. Pershing's character?
I want to point out that including him, only two, and guys in the chat can correct me if I'm wrong, only two characters in the Star Wars universe have ever worn glasses. And it's Dr. Pershing. And I will send out a prize to whoever in the chat can tell me who the other person in the Star Wars universe wore glasses. Let me see if I can find something while you're.
Which can you give us the trilogy? Which trilogy?
I can't, because that might give it away. But I mean, again,
that's going to bug me the whole show now. I'm going to be thinking about that instead of this episode.
I know. I mean, like I said, you cut me and I bleed Star Wars, so it's all in here. So you guys have to really think about what other character in something Star Wars. Okay, I'll give you one hint. It's not animated. Something? What character in a Star Wars property was the other person that wore glasses in Star Wars?
I swear,
I don't know.
If we're going a holiday special on this, I don't even care.
No holiday. But we'll come back if you guys remind me. I'll let you guys know.
Oh, did they have the answer in the chat?
I mean, Maz Kanata did wear some glasses.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like
physical glasses.
Yeah.
Okay.
But good try, Maz. Luke, good try.
And what I love about his glasses, it's really like 1960s John Lennon, Beatles type glasses. And I think it's amazing that an Imperial scientist is wearing John Lennon glasses, in a galaxy far, far away.
Exactly. He might be a nerd, but he's still cool. Okay.
Obviously.
Yeah. And I love that his actor loves Star Wars so much and loves being a part of the Star Wars universe. It'll be great to, hopefully meet him at a Star Wars celebration or a con sometime in the future. He really loves being part of this story. He mentioned the Dark Troopers, and we'll get back to them. We'll see them later on, but mentioned that there's a platoon full of them when they get on board. But I love when they came out of hyperspace, and I love, that we're geeks for this Imperial stuff. Seeing those TIE fighters being readied and then just shot out the gut of that cruiser. That was a hell of a scene.
Yeah, let's backtrack because let's talk about that scene where Mando faces off that Dark Trooper. Wow.
Ooh. Yeah.
I thought that, I mean, obviously I really didn't think that he was gonna, that was going to be the end of it, but talk about close calls. That was a really, really strong battle, and I loved seeing that.
We don't have to backtrack because that happens after the scene that I was just describing. So
okay, good.
You're actually forward tracking. That's all right.
I was thinking that, but as the guest, I wasn't going to say.
We keep each other honest. It's okay. It's all right.
Forward tracking.
But yeah, so they were able to crash land the Lambda class shuttle there, and that was pretty cool. And then they immediately part ways once they get on board the cruiser. The amazing scenes with all the female characters, all the tough women on here. like we posted on social media, it just happened naturally. They didn't have to force
Yes.
that issue. Just a bunch of badasses. They were badasses first, and then they were women after that. I think is how I looked at it. They were badasses
Absolutely.
that just happened to be women, I guess I should say. They were definitely women first. But in these scenes, they were just badasses. It didn't matter what gender they were. But yeah, that scene, they made these dark troopers, I think, terrifying in these shows.
Yeah.
Well, and I'd said they're very Terminator-like, very
Sure.
they're intimidating, they seem indestructible. I mean,
No emotion.
yeah, because I mean,
No.
there is no
Yeah.
human in there, so they are a little terrifying, and yeah, I really felt for Mando when it's like, just the urgency of like, man, nothing's working. Like I've tried this. Okay, let me pull out the whistling birds. Okay, nothing's going, it just feels indestructible. And, and then ultimately he finally finds the one weak spot.
Yeah. And he goes for it.
Yeah, they're definitely soulless. I mean, he even mentioned it. A couple episodes ago. There's one thing that was holding them back, and that was the humans that were inside the suits. So this being, I think they called it a Gen 3 model, they took care of that, and they just took humans out of the equation. And these guys are soulless. I love, and we've said it before, I love that Mando can get his ass kicked in this show. It's okay for the protagonist not to win every single fight. I don't think anybody wants to see that.
Right.
I love that he barely lived through one. So I was really, really curious. Of course, then we had the kind of, I thought it was a little bit cheesy with the airlock. Even my son's like, why do they have a door in the back of that room for these guys to fly right out the back? But
that's how they get shipped. That's how they get shipments, and then they open. It's like the opening the garage door, and they bring them in, and that's easily explainable, Brad.
Well, obviously it is. Everything's easily explainable in the Star Wars universe if you just let it be.
And I just want to break in. Fan Dads and Luke has the answer to my question regarding the glasses. And who else?
Who is that?
this?
Who is that?
The Ewok movie. Wilford.
Oh, come
Brimley.
on.
Oh my gosh.
Come on, man. It's canon. It's canon.
It's not canon. It's not canon. As much as I love the Ewoks, I love those little murder bears. That is not canon. So I'd rather stick with Maz Kanata than whoever that was.
Come on, you remember Ewoks?
But
Oh, yeah.
but if we are going to talk about the women scene, it really just was like that truly is how you do it. Because say watching Endgame where they do all the women together,
Oh
I
my
literally
God.
it's like
Exactly.
it's cringy. Like
Oh,
I
yeah.
literally, as a woman, and I love awesome women characters, I roll my eyes and kind of laugh because it's like, hey guys, it's a bunch of women together. But and it's like this just happens, like it just happens to be 4 women that are working like a unit, being awesome,
And are incredible warriors.
incredibly skilled warriors, taking people out. And
like you said on our it's organic. It's not
Yes.
forced like some things are. It's not cheesy.
it was much more the way I feel like going back and watching movies, say in the 80s or 90s with really good female characters, it was where they don't have to tell you they're awesome. They just show you they're awesome.
Speaking of Terminator.
Yeah,
you know?
like they just
Yeah.
let it happen. Instead of having to sometimes in modern movies, they almost have to force it a little too much. And it just shouldn't have to be that way, because when you can make it natural, and like that's why this stands out to all of us. It wasn't in your face. It just happened, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, Linda Hamilton was a badass throughout all the Terminator movies. you
Yes.
know, and it was that was just her character because the character came first, not the gender. But yeah, I was. Yeah, Ro, did you have something?
Yeah, so Phoenix Nightflame has a question. What happened to the male Mando who was with Bo in episode 3? And I want to
He's on
say,
leave.
we're all talking about the strong women and that shot where they definitely kick some butt. But do you guys feel that that he was taken off the roster just so they could have that scene? It's like,
That's
oh, cool. awesome women, except for that one guy.
I think definitely.
I hadn't thought about it that way, but that probably is why.
They'll clearly explain it. They can explain it very easily, but that had to be behind the thinking when they were making the show.
Like he was going to cramp their stuff.
He was. He was going to ruin this awesome moment we're talking about.
I mean, he also wasn't that much of a character to begin with. He was
Right.
just kind of there. So I don't think he would have added or subtracted anything from that scene. I think it's just a lot easier to choreograph 4 than it is 5. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that's the obvious thing. That's the obvious answer is he was taken out so we get this moment that we're talking about. But I don't think he would have, like I said, I don't think he would have, provided any sort of extra entertainment value if he were there. He was just on vacation.
Yeah.
Mandalorian's got to take a hiatus from,
Sure.
for once in a while as well. But
I can see Bo-Katan telling him, when they got on the shuttle and he wants to kind of like, hang around. He's like, scram, pal. We, her and I got something to talk about. So, he kind of left with his tail between his legs and went to go bark up somebody else's tree. Poor guy.
He's on the beach. We should be envious. He's on vacay.
I was gonna say he's on Scarif, but he can't be. That's kind of been blown up. So never mind.
That explains his absence.
Yeah.
So they make it to the bridge, with pretty much no issue, and then Din Djarin makes it to Grogu's cell, and of course Moff Gideon is waiting for him there with Darksaber ignited and ready for use. I love. I saw a little. This was on Facebook, not on Twitter, but there's a little. I don't know. Some folks were calling out Moff Gideon a little bit for being a flat character. I disagree with it. I think he's doing a great job. I think I think he plays an ISB agent very well, especially a senior ISB agent. But what did you guys think of that scene between Moff Gideon and the Mandalorian?
I real fast. I did want to mention something about Gideon. In season 1, he popped up towards the end. We didn't really know him. I feel like he didn't do a lot in season 2. And then this last episode, again, I feel like he was captured relatively quickly. And I know, these episodes are short. It's television. It's not a film. You kind of got to roll other narratives in there. So I did feel that, he was probably, for me, the weakest point in the entire narrative. It could have been anybody. And the other thing, too, that kind of bugs me is that he wore this outfit with the breathing apparatus, very similar to a TIE fighter pilot. And we don't, like, practically, you don't see, like, what it's for. It would have been nice to have him, like, come back from a mission. He's got a helmet and he takes it off. I just found it kind of odd. I think if he's an ISB agent that maybe took on the role of a Moff, after the death of Vader and Palpatine, it would have been nice to see him maybe in an ISB outfit, like what's his name in Rogue One. So obviously a little nitpicky, but the devil is in the details, as they say, and I think that's my 2 cents. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Well, I like Moff Gideon. I think, when you've seen, which I'm sure a lot of you guys have, but Breaking Bad and his awesome betrayal as Gus and just how totally cold-blooded and calculating he was in that, and to see him be a villain also in this, but played totally differently. These are totally different villains. Different mannerisms, facial expressions, voice inflections. He plays it totally differently. So I appreciate that about what he's brought to the character.
Yeah, I think as a villain, I think he really fits the show. Like the way he's acting it out, it really fits. And he's just kind of a delightful villain. Like even like say, I now I'm fast tracking, but when they all get into where the bridge is, he's so happy at the friction he knows he's caused with the Darksaber, and he does it in his face so well.
He enjoys being smug in this.
Yes,
Yeah.
So I think And that's why I was glad he lives, because I feel like you could get so much more out of this character, and maybe he hangs around and we do, because the actor's just so phenomenal. I think, I think he's done a very good job and he's very different, but there's more they could do with him.
There was one line, I can't remember what it was. Do you remember? I laughed both time we watched it. Like it was the way he delivered a line in that room when he's with Din Djarin.
I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember. He did say it a little flat, so I can see where some people would say that. But overall, I think he does a great job.
Yeah, I gotta defend him here, and backyard TARDIS and a couple folks mentioned in the chat as well. Yes, I agree. I think he was underused throughout the season. I don't think that's not his fault, as an actor or as a character. That's just how they wrote, this season. But he played quite the chess game. So he had two things going for him, and I don't know if some folks realize it. Number one, that chess game that he played with the Darksaber.
Yeah.
Knowing that she had to physically fight him to get that, and also makes you wonder even more how he got his hands on the Darksaber. And two, he had his insurance policy. He had the insurance policy. He knew that the Dark Troopers were going to be back into the ship. So he was just biding his time until the Dark Troopers did their thing. But this just goes to show again what an X factor the Jedi are in the Star Wars universe, because he had this what he said in the bridge would have been 100% correct. The only people alive are going to be him and the child and Grogu.
Yeah.
And they just don't account, especially at this point in Star Wars history. They don't account for Jedi. So you can't account for that X factor, and that just makes you could have the best laid plan A, B, C, and D, but that Jedi X factor is going to make that all go to hell. So I think he played it pretty well, and I think he was pretty smart on this episode.
Well,
I agree.
I want to say on that's a great point, because he is so smug and knows he's got these backup plans, knows he's caused some of this just to watch Bo-Katan not get what she wants.
He enjoys causing strife.
He does. But the one moment you see, like, he's like, oh crap, like he knows
the light bulb goes on.
He knows he's beaten, is when Bo-Katan says a Jedi. In his face, he literally did such great face acting. You see the horror on his face, and it's like, I'm beaten.
Like I didn't account for this.
Yes. In my calculations, I didn't have this plan.
I had everything else, checked off, planned off, but not this.
And it was a quick moment, but it was such great face acting, like it relayed so much.
And we had a couple of questions in the chat as well. Taking it back a little bit to Dr. Pershing and what happened with him. I had the same question. We don't see him again. I think him being on Slave One is probably a good bet, or they kept him back on the shuttle. I think Slave One is probably the better bet on that one. And Dave says, I read that the Darksaber lore has been retconned since Rebels. I don't know exactly what that's in reference to. Do you guys have you guys heard anything like that?
I was skimming through the interwebs, and I think they were talking about the fact that in Rebels, I think Bo-Katan was able to just take the Darksaber without an actual battle. I would have to go back and kind of look at that episode. I'm not sure exactly what the details are on that, but I think that's what they're referring to.
I can see that. And Amanda asked, do you guys think Bo will betray Din? And I think that's going to be, we'll have to get back to that question later on. And I think that's going to be one of those, one of the bigger questions that we have in future seasons of The Mandalorian, how that relationship is going to work between Din Djarin and Bo-Katan. But going back to that holding cell, Baby Yoda, or I'm sorry, I can't say that anymore. Grogu. How about the puppeteers and everybody else that works on Baby Yoda with, like, he caught me in the feels the entire time. This little guy looked wrecked the entire time. I mean, he looked seriously depressed the entire time.
Yes. I think when he saw or since a Jedi, and he starts to put his adorable little
Well,
hands on the
first
security.
it's the first time the whole episode
he
perked
starts
up.
to perk up. Yeah, but you're absolutely right. He did seem almost like, I wouldn't have thought of that, but actually depressed.
And I would say too, we don't know what they probably drained him of a lot of blood. He may be tired.
He just seemed like he didn't have any energy. He was down. Bless us.
Poor little Grogu.
Poor little Grogu.
Yeah, the Empire isn't like, they're not a good daycare.
No.
No.
Lest we forget the little shackles, okay?
Yeah. Bedside manner's not so good. But how about that fight scene between Moff Gideon and Din Djarin?
That was pretty good. I loved the fact that he took out that I keep wanting to call it the adamantium spear, but that's the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He took out the Beskar, and fought with that. I love the fact that obviously it was impenetrable, but you can kind of still see that it was heating up. And I think the special effects team did a really good job at kind of giving it that sense of dread that this is a battle that will have consequences, or at least potentially have consequences. So I love that. Again, they did a great job with the effects, the sparks, the battle in the hallway when they left the holding cell. It was really great, and I think Mando held his own against an opponent like Gideon. So I loved it a lot. I liked it a lot.
Well, and just the pace of it, it's like he thinks, okay, which we as the audience are kind of like, really? He's just going to like, he's being so reasonable. He's just going to let him. So it's like he just takes a step towards and then just bam, and they're off. So I just thought the pacing was awesome.
Yeah, like I said on our live stream, now we know why Juan Carlos Esposito mentioned breaking several dark sabers, because he's just coming so.
He was giving it his all for sure.
I definitely can't wait for the Disney Plus show where they talk about the behind the scenes. It's I think I read that they're going to have like one long one instead of one for each episode. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm always intrigued at how they put all that stuff together, especially for a Star Wars TV show of the caliber that The Mandalorian is.
Yeah, so I got to direct this question at Rose. So we're on the bridge. We have the interaction between Moff Gideon, Bo-Katan, Mandalorian. He talks about the Darksaber, throws a few jabs at them that she's got to, basically fight him for it. And at the same time, we see the Dark Troopers. They're making their way in. If I have any complaints about the Dark Troopers, it's they couldn't just give them torch cutters. They have to pound their way in with their fist through every door. I don't understand why they didn't get torch cutters, but besides, it's a plot device. I get it, but bad design anyway. Empire. Anyway, we see those guys coming in.
You better.
Completely soulless and ready to kill them all. And then Robe, take us there. Your feelings when you see that X-wing flying outside.
Oh man, my God! Like I said, the last couple of episodes, I've been really wanting that to happen, and I changed a couple of my predictions from Ahsoka to Luke Skywalker. Again, I think it makes the most sense that he's the Jedi that Grogu reached out to, or at least that was able to listen to the call and come to his rescue. I would have been really disappointed if it was a Jedi that nobody knew. I think it would have been, especially for a last episode of season 2, it kind of would have been a non-issue. Not very exciting to leave off a season 2 of this show. I think now, because they did use Luke, first of all, so, Cara Dune says, oh, great, one X-Wing, we're saved. And that's when I started to realize, oh, damn, are they going to do this? And, as an editor, I know that you kind of extend a sequence to kind of build up that excitement. And, from the X-Wing landing to the slow, walk of this hooded figure. Once I saw that green lightsaber
Yes.
and the glove, I was like, "Doe!" That
You
was
had your
amazing.
jump off the couch moment, right?
Exactly. But you know what though? It's like you're still not sure. You're still
Yeah.
not sure. And again, somebody had posted that it would have been nice to hear the Force theme, but I think that would have given it away completely. I think it was perfect the way they did it. We're all sitting on the edge of our couch, trying to figure out, like, is that him? Is that him? Oh my God, they're gonna actually do this! Holy crap! And
It almost seemed too good to be true for a minute. You're like,
yes.
I'm self-preservation. Like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna tell myself, like, all signs are pointing to it's him, but I'm not quite gonna go there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
like she can tell you watching it live. At first,
We were like up,
like
emotionally.
screaming up, "It's Luke!" And then I, like, in self-preservation, said, "Well, maybe not. It's R2. Well, maybe not." And then it was like, "It's Luke!"
Yeah, and then when you see the glove and the green, yeah, you're like, okay, it's official.
Yeah, my son said he called it by the glove, and I'm with you. I had too much. Number one, I was mad because Roe was right once again, but that was only like 2% of me that could be mad at that point. But I tell you what, we talk about storytelling and proper storytelling, and how you show that a character is a badass. You don't just say that; you show it, and you show it by how they interact with those around them, with the rest of the people, how others see them, and what effect they have in that scene. So we saw how we talked about it a few minutes ago. Din Djarin could barely take out one of these dark troopers, and rightfully so. They're just soulless killers by design, and he could be. And I thought maybe they were made of Beskar. Someone posted that on Twitter a couple weeks ago. Apparently they're not, but still a pretty sturdy metal, and he could barely take out one. And then you see this hooded figure just slicing and dicing, and that's how you know that this is Luke Skywalker right here. We saw him in Star Wars Battlefront 2. You see what an awesome character he is in Star Wars Battlefront 2 for a very short time, for a very short scene. But we see it there, and then just decimating these dark troopers like it's nothing, using the Force in every single way imaginable. And what I really love is that Sam Witwer on Friday, I think he posted either Friday or yesterday. Of course, Sam Witwer was Star Killer in the Force Unleashed video games, and he just talked about how happy he was at that moment because this was straight out of Force Unleashed. The way he just smashed up that last Dark Trooper, literally a move that you can do in Force Unleashed, and he did it. He destroyed these guys in every single way. So that's how, and I really do think we've talked about this before, Ro. I think if George Lucas had all these special effects available, I think that's the Luke that we would have seen in Return of the Jedi. We've kind of given him a hard time over the last 2 decades because he had his kick that didn't even hit the guy on that sail barge, and that's about the extent of his powers. But that was just, I think, the restrictions of movie making at that time. Sure. I think if George had all these resources available, this is the Luke that we would have seen, and we finally got to see him. And I couldn't have been more excited. Again, my son needs to stop sitting so close to me when we're watching these episodes. Luckily, he's got about a year. He'll be fine. But yeah, somebody had the nerve to call this predictable. Would any of you describe the arrival of Luke Skywalker in the season finale of The Mandalorian a predictable move by Filoni and Favreau?
No. I mean, technically, Michelle, and I could kind of see what she was saying, so I guess you could say I agreed with her. She kind of did throw that out there episodes ago. That
yeah,
this was,
like after chapter 6, we walked through the ones that are alive, and it's kind of like Ro was saying. We said that Luke makes the most sense, and I said even then I was saying though, my heart says it's going to be Luke, but my mind keeps telling me, no, they won't go there. There's no way they'll go there.
That's the self-preservation, watching the episode, realizing, dang, I think this is freaking happening, but still telling yourself, oh, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. you know, it still was just kind of mind blowing. So, you know, even if you thought it was a possibility, no, I wouldn't say it was like, oh man, that's predictable.
Well, and Ro brought up the galleries that they did. And if you guys remember, Favreau and Filoni, they talked about how the Mandalorian is kind of like you've got a Boba Fett figure and the rest of the side characters, and you're playing outside. And it's like, but this season they're like, nah, we're going to take some of our older brothers' good figures and we're going to begin to mix them into the mix with this show. And so I wouldn't say predictable. I think we did technically predict it.
I think
and
it
Ro
was
did
wishful thinking. We were like, man, that'd be awesome. I think a lot of us fans.
Wishful thinking, but narratively, it made the most sense. It just did. And they were, I will say, intelligent enough to do it, and to do it in a way that made our 39-year-old brother tear up. And so many, literally, we did a Twitter poll of how many people cried, and it was like, we had almost 300 people in it, and it was like 76% of people cried in this episode, and a lot of it was men over Luke.
Yeah, so not only did it, you know, personally make me happy, but just like, you know, I do think of our brother, our 39-year-old brother, who it's just like, he was so let down, you know, and I know that they're big fans, but of The Last Jedi, this was kind of some, what's the word? Redemption, you know, for them to make things right.
And I know that would hit Ro right in the heart too. It's what people have waited for so long and didn't get to see. And finally we get to see it. So it was just, to me, it was the narrative move to take. It was the right move. And then it just gave the fans, I mean, it was just incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. We're just a bunch of dude bros, man. But you know, the I know Brad loves that. Brad loves that.
Oh my God.
But you know, it's here's the thing. I mean, you know, I think we all wanted Luke to show up, and I think none of us, again, we all wanted it, but none of us really thought that they were going to do it because I don't know, whatever reasons. You know, obviously Mark Hamill is older. The technology maybe is not you know, up to par for this show. How are we going to do it? Everybody's talking about Sebastian Stan. You're not going to please everybody 100%, but like I said, I'm so glad that they actually went with the logical choice. Again, the same thing when it came to the end of Solo, a Star Wars story, when all of a sudden Darth Maul pops up. Where the hell did he come from? Well, it was logical because he was in charge of the, you know, of the criminal underground during that time, and it just made sense. If you didn't get it, oh well, go Google it, find a YouTube clip, and do your homework. But narratively, in the overall story of this franchise that we've been thrown into, it just makes sense, and I'm glad they went that route. I'm really happy they went that route.
It kind of couldn't have been more perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it made sense. I just didn't think they were going to do it. I didn't think, you know, earmuffs, ladies. I didn't think they had the balls to do it. You know, I just thought, you know, it was going to be a second tier because, you know, yeah, it's going to be a Jedi. It's going to be cool to see a Jedi, but they're not going to put Luke. Surely they're not going to put Luke on this thing. He's going to have some interaction with Luke. I just didn't think they would do it. So I'm happy to be wrong.
Do you think it's kind of like the scale of this, like the Mandalorian, it's a big deal and it's becoming a bigger and bigger deal to more people, but it almost seemed like having Luke on, it was like too big scale or something. Like, I don't know. Like, I guess it just, a lot of people maybe felt that way deep down.
Yeah, but you know what? Once Ahsoka showed up, it was like people were like, think, you know, okay, Boba, and we said it on the podcast too. If they bring Boba Fett on this show, it's going to turn into the Boba Fett show, and it didn't. He's a great supporting character. We said the same thing about Ahsoka. If they bring Ahsoka, it's going to turn into the Ahsoka show, and it hasn't. She was in here for one episode. She told Mando what to do. Go ahead and do it, and then forget about it. We're still interested in that main story that the Mandalorian is following, and it's been great. So at that point, I was like, you know, I'm thinking like, oh my God, yeah. So they're able to bring all these characters that we know and love into this thing again, because narratively it just makes sense. And I love it.
Yes.
So Natalie, talk to us about Ugly Tears. We're there. We're there in the show. Talk to us how you felt with that interaction between Luke, Grogu, and Din Djarin.
I think it was just okay when he first, Michelle and I pointed this out, but when he says he doesn't want to go with you, we say it's kind of like AKA I don't want him to go with you. He's already kind of like setting it up. There's just a lot of emotion there. And gosh, just the whole thing between them.
I think you started crying when Grogu reached for his mask, and then
it still gets me when I think about it.
When he took it off, and there's some tears already in his eyes. It was literally like I turned around, like what?
And you could just see how much. I mean, he did such a phenomenal acting job too. Just the love in his face and the brokenness of the situation of like I'm about to give up, my most prized possession. How we all feel about our children. And it just was a little too much. Yeah. And the fact that the vulnerability for him to like, and someone had made the point in our chat, like, I want to look at you with my own eyes, kind of a callback, I want to take my mask off and also the vulnerability. I want to let you see me because you clearly want to, and it doesn't matter that there's people around, like, this is for you. Like, I love you this much. And
she about to cry again.
it just got me, and then when he finally puts him down and a call back to the end of season 1 and he, puts his little hands on his boot, like, and looks up at him. It just, the whole thing, man.
Yeah. I mean, it was just awesome. And I would like to, I said this on our show and I want to say it again, because some people are just running with the fact Grogu's out of the show. Definitely understand that Jon Favreau, who wrote this episode, when he has Mando tell the child, we'll see each other again, I promise. It was literally Jon Favreau looking in the camera and saying, everyone, don't worry. You'll see Grogu again. I promise.
Yeah.
Well, you guys actually stole my next question, or at least, half of it. But yeah, Creed, Mando Creed be damned. That helmet was coming off. And like you said, to see that vulnerability, I just got goosebumps with y'all describing that scene. So that was a hell of a thing. And again, we have Luke Skywalker standing right there, and that shows that this show is still about the Mandalorian. It's still about Din Djarin. He's still the focal point with Luke freaking Skywalker standing right there. I mean, that is a hell of a thing. That is an amazing thing. For Luke to be a side character, a supporting cast to this. It is amazing and because not at all distracting from him.
Exactly. Like you're saying, and I hadn't even really thought about that. The emotional weight in that moment, even with, like you said, freaking Luke Skywalker standing there, your emotions are still with Din, So, yeah, good point.
Yeah, because as I've said throughout this season, that the child he's not just a prop. He's not just a plot device. Like, he is the co-lead of the show, and literally the foundation of the Mandalorian is their relationship. Like, that is it. Like, that is what it has been, and it is. And so all the emotional weight was on the two lead characters, like, seeing each other face to face for the first time.
And I think that was part of my release, we shall call it.
It was a release.
They've put in the work character-wise. We've had 2 seasons leading up to this, this emotional breakdown I had, but just of them growing in their love and trust for each other, and then that final scene, which was a beautiful shot, in my opinion, with R2, Luke, and baby Yoda.
Oh, my God.
And when he turns around and he's holding him, and then, it goes back to Mando's face, and you can just see once again the brokenness in his face of saying goodbye. I mean, just wrecked me.
Can I just admit that? I just want to admit that I think I got more emotional. I got more emotional seeing R2-D2 than I did with seeing Luke. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what it was, but like seeing him just stroll up, I'm like, I'm about to lose it right now. Just seeing him, stroll up like this. Like they say in episode 4, like the circle is now complete. Like, oh my God, this is just amazing. And then to see like an immediate bond between R2 and Grogu,
yeah,
just fantastic. Um,
Here's the wonderful thing about Star Wars, and we experienced all this for those of us who obviously who were Star Wars fans in the '80s with The Empire Strikes Back. George Lucas made a decision to make this little rubber puppet an important character in the Star Wars universe, and there are behind the scenes documentaries about how he really had this internal battle of, is this going to work? I'm hinging this entire narrative on this rubber puppet. Is this going to backfire? And the fact that we are here talking about this, 40 years later, between, the scene between Grogu and Mandalorian, again, the shot stays on Grogu when he's has this emotion. He's looking at him. They're looking at each other face to face, and it's just a slow moment. And little Grogu's hand comes up and touches him. We're not thinking that this is some little rubber puppet. These are characters that
Yes.
for whatever reason, they have so much life in them, and it's fantastic. And again, not because it's a rubber puppet, it's because it's a character in this story that we are all invested in. And that's a pretty powerful thing when it comes to storytelling, and something that we obviously we all give George Lucas the credit for creating and spearheading all of this. But here we are decades later still talking about this franchise, and that is exciting to me. Where it's going to go, I don't know. But yeah, Fan Dad said there was not a dry eye in the house. And
No.
just like me, I didn't think I had any more tears. And then R2D2 shows up. I was done.
yeah,
That was it.
yeah.
Well, and that's a good point you make about, whether it's puppets or droids, because, R2D2, Michelle and I have joked before, he was kind of the original in our hearts, like Grogu. It was like he
Yeah.
was that we had such an affection, almost like a childlike character, but he was a character, even though he's this droid, so it's like, absolutely, they have this like special place in your heart.
So I think we need to talk about three paths going forward. The first being, of course, Grogu, and then we'll talk about the Mandalorian aspect, where that's going with the retaking of Mandalore and the Darksaber, and of course we'll talk about the third branch. What happened after the credits. We'll talk about that last. But you kind of already answered this question a little bit. Do we think Grogu's going to be on next season? Maybe not. And is it okay for this show to not have Grogu on it in the meantime?
I have very passionate feelings, so I'll let someone else go.
Let's just say it's been a topic of conversation for the last 48 hours.
I really wonder because, and not to skip ahead, we've got that post credits scene, and we've got the announcements from Lucas. I'm actually wondering if Mandalorian season 3 is really not going to be Mandalorian season 3. I'm wondering if now, at this point, some of the other shows that we will get on Disney Plus will be their own thing. And if we see the Mandalorian kind of interacting with them, I almost feel like now that the Mandalorian has delivered Grogu to a Jedi, he's done. I think his story is done, or maybe we go into his background and who he really is. But at this point, I think some of the other branches of this story are probably, for me anyways, a little bit more intriguing. Obviously, are we going to see Luke train Grogu? I'm not sure. That's even more of a Hail Mary than this was. We might see him. We might be told that story maybe through another medium, a comic book, a novel, I don't know what else. But there's so much there, and I'm wondering what your thoughts are on where this goes. Like Brad said, I almost have a feeling that what we saw at the end after the credits, if that's going to be like a continuation of The Mandalorian. And somebody actually said that the title The Mandalorian doesn't mean Din Djarin, it's just The Mandalorian and whoever takes up that mantle. So not to spoil it for folks, but it's too late now. We're 59 minutes in. But the book of Boba Fett, is that going to be The Mandalorian season 3?
Well, isn't it funny that in the beginning of this episode they specifically say to Boba Fett, "You are not a Mandalorian"? Like,
Yeah,
True.
like
That's
I
true.
kind of feel like that wasn't even wasted. And I said this on ours. That idea has kind of been ran with from a big YouTuber. And after Kathleen Kennedy comes out and says Mando season 3 is coming, and people had already knew Boba Fett was actually being shot. I'm gonna wait until Lucasfilm tells me that, because if not,
Sure.
I have no reason to assume that. Like, Boba Fett to me seems like a great
Miniseries. really.
miniseries appetizer because why would you do away? There's one thing that has brought fans together and is working for Star Wars, and it is The Mandalorian, and it is Din Djarin and Grogu. And I just don't think, even from a financial state, they're going to screw with that right now. Like, Mando season 3 is coming, and Grogu is going to be in it because Grogu is a cash cow. Like
You're gonna get Michelle cussing over here. She's gonna get worse.
I've heard that theory. I'll wait until that would be so confusing to fans, and especially to not like the average fan. And Mandalorian has brought in so many average fans who don't even really watch Star
Or
Wars.
casual Star Wars fans, or people that haven't ever watched Star Wars.
Yes, and what are those fans there for? Grogu. So I just don't think they're really going to screw with that. I think that's going to be something awesome that leads into Mando 3. And, I definitely believe, again, to me, the heartbeat of the show is Grogu and Mando's relationship. And it's been my prediction for a while that the child will be a Mandalorian Jedi. So I believe he'll be back, because you could also easily say you're a year, say it does come out, as we were told by Kathleen Kennedy just a week ago, that it comes out December 2021. And we're assuming that truly is The Mandalorian season 3, not Boba Fett. You easily just have a show be like a year, like let it follow our time. It's a year forward, and you easily just bring Grogu back to him, because again, wording support it, I believe.
Maybe a few episodes in, maybe the last episode of season 3, they reunite. Maybe we get, like you said, I think that'd be awesome if we could have flashes of Luke training Grogu.
That would be awesome.
Does seem like a Hail Mary, you're right, but we've been proven, they'll do things now. We know that.
Yeah, that would definitely be awesome. It just they're gonna bring the child back, because he's what draws so many people that they're just not gonna. It would just totally alter the show. As I tweet out, it would be like removing 11 from Stranger Things. Like, can't do it. It just doesn't work. So I think it will be back for enough, because originally Bob Iger mentioned like Mandalorian getting like 5 seasons. And to me, the show easily does that. But I think they'll be back with the show. I'm very passionate about my feelings.
She's very passionate, if you can't tell.
My bold prediction is Grogu will be back after he has been trained. Oh, what I was going to say, sorry, and then I'll let everyone else talk. Luke, if you catch Luke's wording, he says he'll never be safe from the Empire until he's mastered his abilities. Like, the way it's even worded doesn't sound like I'm just going to take him away forever. No, it's like, I'm going to teach him how to defend himself, and then he'll be fine. I'll be quiet now. And
so yeah, 5 seasons of The Mandalorian. I mean, 5 seasons for any show is kind of the norm in the industry, and I think obviously, like you said, it's easy for The Mandalorian. There's a lot there that we can be told as far as a storytelling perspective. I lost my train. So the fact that Luke says that, I'm always intrigued to find out, what does this all mean in the grand scheme of things, because I know the journey is the adventure and not necessarily the end. We've got shows like the Cassian Andor show, and I know everybody's like, well, we don't want that show because we know he dies. Yeah, but so what? The adventure is there. But in this particular case, what does all of this mean? Because we already know that the Empire turns into the First Order, and we already know what happens in the sequel trilogy. We know what happens to Luke mentally. We see um where is Grogu? Where is his influence, or where is the influence of these new Jedi that are supposedly being trained? And I know we got a taste of what happened to, Luke's school and all that stuff. Which I think at this point, things are a little jumbled narratively because of the sequel trilogy, and I know they're gonna probably have to put pieces together to kind of make it all fit. There's crazy theories that World Between Worlds, let's erase the sequel trilogy. They're not going to do that, too much of many people's dismay. But it's going to be interesting going forward to try to figure out, how are those pieces going to be laid out. And you know what? I'm calling Disney right now, Michelle, because I'm going to have them give you a call. I think you need to go over there and executive produce something, because I'll be back. Hold on a second.
Hey, I'm available.
Yes.
I think it is. We texted back and forth about this, Ro, and it is up in the air whether it's two different shows. They, but as far as the Mandalorian, I'm leaning towards two shows. But as far as the Mandalorian goes, anybody who's had kids knows that once you have kids, your existence to a great extent is defined by your children. So,
Yes.
and we see that Grogu is his child now. So I don't see how you can have a Mandalorian show. There would be a huge void there. So I'm with Michelle, and there would be a huge void on there without Grogu, because he'd be without his child, and I don't think we want to see that. Now, what I'm interested to see though is what's going to happen with the Darksaber and with Bo-Katan. I think it's going to be epic if we see a season full of him working with Bo-Katan and retaking Mandalore, and then we have this other show on here where we have Boba Fett on Tatooine, running the Hutt cartel there from Tatooine. So, what did you guys? And first of all, I'm glad. I was pissed that we had no art in the credits. I'm like, where's the art? And I was like, wait a minute, there's still like 5 minutes left. I think there's something here. What did you guys think of that final scene there after the credits?
I thought it was pretty awesome. I mean, just going back to Jabba the Hutt's place, his palace, and I mean, I was saying on ours, even the small details of Fennec Shan, shooting, letting that woman go free, just boom, shooting that thing and, let go. And then even Boba Fett standing where he doesn't fear being there because he knows Luke killed the creature. So that's not an issue. And then, okay, so Homeboy said, Jabba's right-hand man, he's been eating.
We were laughing because he's definitely been indulging on something.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think they're taking all the Gamorreans' food because the Gamorreans still have these skinny legs.
Yeah.
So I think Bib Fortuna's eating everything.
And you could tell that what is the guy's name? The guy that was sitting.
Yeah, what? I forget his name.
It's just Bib Fortuna.
Bib Fortuna. He was eating a lot of tuna. But yeah, he seems very nervous at the arrival. You can tell he's kind of backtracking, like, hey, buddy, being kind of a shyster. And then it's just like almost comical the way he's like, no, I'm not here to talk. Kind of gets him out of the way and then sits down on his throne. And I loved that the image of her, she comes and sits, and has her drink. Like, I just thought it was
awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, because they've done the job now through this, even in short doses. I'm one of those, I just didn't care about Boba Fett. Like, I was a Han girl. He kind of seemed like a punk to me. He just goes out like a punk. And I just didn't really care about him. But The Mandalorian made me like this character
Yeah.
all these years later.
In one episode, you're
And-
like, okay,
Yeah.
I get why people like him.
And what they set up to me is very intriguing of
Sure.
these two characters that are awesome at what they do, and kind of the idea of like, I'm going to run this town now. Like, this is my thing. And
Yeah.
so I
Like,
think
there's a new sheriff in town.
yeah, so I think it's going to be cool. That's why I definitely think it, to me, again, I'd be shocked if that is Mando season 3. I bet it's more a mini series. I don't see that having the legs that necessarily Mando does at this point, but we'll see. But I mean, I'm very interested to see it.
And I just put up, I did want to notice, or I did want to mention Fandads. We're talking about the staff that Bib Fortuna was holding. It was the same staff that was included in the Kenner action figure for that figure. And that's one of the cool things that I love about Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. I mean, they were kids playing with these freaking toys, and now they're producing the show. So it's that attention to detail, I think, that makes it enjoyable, because it's almost like, you know, we're there too, and we're doing all this really cool stuff, and I really love it. The fact that they gave him that staff from the Kenner toy is pretty hot.
Well,
Yeah,
and I think
go ahead.
oh, well, I was just saying, I think those are the only people that really should be in charge of something like this. I think that's kind of what was needed all along in these projects after the original trilogy. It's people like that like live and breathe. And like you said, Ro, like you bleed Star Wars. Like that's kind of like you said, like you could be working on this stuff, you know? Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's what's needed. And that's why you're getting a great show.
Yeah.
The only thing that I would say with I'm kind of on the fence. I'm actually, I think you're absolutely right. I think there are certain people that understand Star Wars and are fans and could be behind the scenes creatively. But there's also, like, you know, the greatest Star Wars movie that was ever done, The Empire Strikes Back. Irving Kershner directed it. He wasn't a Star Wars fan. He didn't like sci-fi, and it was one of the best Star Wars out there. Rogue One, you know, the writer, I can't remember his name. He wasn't a big Star Wars fan, and again, Rogue One is top notch, up there in Star Wars films. So it's very interesting. You know, obviously you can go and cross the line of, I'll use the term because people will understand it, cross the line of fan service and eye roll moments and all that stuff, but you have to have a certain perspective of the story and be true to it. And I think whether you're a fan or not, the creative people behind the scenes should take that into account in order to make a good story. And I think, the fact that they are fans is obviously icing on the cake. And I'm pretty happy that it's turning out the way it is.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, because I think even say with Empire, you had George Lucas right there. Like it's still his vision and he's getting what he wants for the most part. I mean, the other guy's directing it, but it's still, he's there to guide all the little details.
Well, his creation was right there.
Yes. Where like
Sure.
now you've got Filoni there all the time to guide these little, nitty gritty details that we Star Wars fans love, whether he's writing the episode or not, which I think he only wrote like one episode, I think, or so, but he's there, working all the time with this info.
For those
Yeah.
little details and all these things. You know, he's the real deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if George Lucas himself didn't tear up a little bit at this episode.
Me
But
too.
that last scene on Tatooine, number one, nothing gets a Star Wars fan going like seeing those twin suns, and then to see Jabba's palace right after that, that scene was gangster. That's what I put when I texted somebody else. That
Yeah.
scene was freaking gangster, and
Yeah.
that was a Godfather type scene right there. Like you said, no words, just shut up.
Yeah, I'm not here to talk.
And took the throne. Yeah, and looked very Game of Thrones-ish after he took the throne. My only question, which has been my question for years on Twitter now, where is Rada the Hutt? Where is Stinky? Now, I can understand why Bib took over because he's a little weasel after Jabba died, but where the hell is Stinky? Stinky better be in this Boba Fett series, and he better be grown up, and he better fight for his family name, the Hutt family name. I don't know.
That's true.
So, but I just had a thought while you guys were talking. If we have a Boba Fett show, typically when there's Boba Fett, sometimes there tends to be a Han or a Lando. Could we see those characters maybe from the Han Solo movie, right? Where obviously Billy D and you know they can't do it anymore. But could we have our younger versions of Han and Lando maybe make an appearance on this Boba Fett show?
Wow. I just got the chills just thinking about the possibilities.
That would be
Woo.
pretty awesome.
I feel like you'd probably get Lando before you got Han, since I guess they did confirm a Lando show. Because if you had Han, I feel like Han would just shoot him. Han would shoot first. Because
This
I'd say
time.
Han has something. Yeah, I would say Han has something to say about to Boba Fett.
It's got a little beef still.
He's a little salty.
What'd you bring for dinner? Beef.
And it is too bad that we didn't get to see, some adventures between the rivalry of Han and Boba Fett. I think, I thought when Solo was announced, I thought they were going to do a Boba Fett movie, and I thought there was going to be a little overlap, a little crossover, the way that they do it in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You got a little bit over here and a little bit of this over there, and I think that would have been a great opportunity to kind of show how these two characters, came to be. Especially their relationship. I think, Brad, I've said it on the podcast a couple of times. It's almost like Boba Fett has this respect for Han in Empire Strikes Back when he's in Carbon Freeze. He says, "Put Captain Solo in the cargo hold." There's a definite respect as professionals, as rivals. You can really tell. And I just hope one day, we get to kind of see that roll out in a story somehow.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
We do know that I don't know how often it happened, but we know from the Rise of Skywalker that Lando does like to hang out with Luke, and he did hang out with Luke on some
right.
travels. So we got Luke back, we got Grogu, maybe, who knows? But I don't think we could have gotten a better season finale.
Well, I think they kind of blew the lid off with this, and now it's kind of like anything can happen, really.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, again, not expecting, wishing, but not expecting. I think the appearance of Master Jedi Luke Skywalker really blew the lid off of things. Yeah, again, you don't know what to expect in a TV show with the Star Wars name on it. We have a long way to go for the next season. And as the song says, anything goes, man.
Well, I just have a question for you guys that I've already been thinking in my brain. So what color will Grogu's lightsaber be? I've got two that I'm thinking in my mind. You guys let me know.
Okay, all right. So hear me out.
Okay.
No, wait, no. Yoda lost his lightsaber.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he lost it.
I was gonna say because maybe Luke had Yoda's lightsaber, but no, he definitely lost it in Revenge of the Sith. But there's only one color of lightsaber that matters, and that's green, and it'll be a green lightsaber.
I like it.
Ro, what says you?
I originally I wanted to say blue, but green is probably what I would go for. The only thing is that, this kid is only 50 years old, and it's going to take a while for him to, hone his training and, start to build his own lightsaber. I think it'll be a while before we actually see Grogu with a lightsaber. And again, what does this all mean? We don't know.
Yeah.
My question is, how do you? This is going to sound totally fanboy, but I don't care. Like, how do you continue to top this? Like, where
I had that thought.
From introducing Luke Skywalker, where do you go from here? How do you go up? How do you go up?
He went straight to the top.
Exactly. That's what amazes me. We did go straight to the top. Again, some of us predicted it. Some of us kind of thought of it, had it in the back of our mind, and it happened. I don't know how you would top it. I think we're going to have to get some It's going to have to be story wise. We're going to have to
Yeah.
really, take a vested interest in what is going to happen with these characters in order for us to be emotionally connected. I think the visuals are great. It's a given. It's Star Wars. But I think, the other aspect of a good franchise like this is how the stories start to roll out. We see that in the Clone Wars. We see that in Rebels. All the stories that we've been given up until this point. The visuals are kind of back there. The front and center should definitely be story, and I'm really excited to see how this all plays out.
Yeah, we are too. I mean, that's
Yeah.
why I think too, I would be so disappointed if Boba Fett was season 3 of Mando because and that's why I just don't think it is. They know everyone wants Mando season 3. Like we don't want to wait 2 years for that. Like we want it now. Like we want it today, let alone
I
beyond.
want it all.
Yeah. we just want extra. Boba Fett needs to be an extra because we all
Yeah.
we want to see what happens next.
Absolutely.
Ro, we thought we had something genius when we came up with the Scuttle Cheeks. We thought we had a good rating system, but I think we're going to have to throw that out for. We're going to have to come up with something new for season 3. I don't. They've been they've been 4 for like 3 or 4 or
Yeah,
5
well,
shows now. I don't. They're
I mean
useless now.
that goes to show you how great these shows have been. The last few episodes, it's been just top notch from the get go. So I'm all for continuing with the cheeks, but we definitely come December of next year, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. How do you top Ahsoka? Well, we'll just throw Luke Skywalker in there.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't
Where
know.
does it go from here? Absolutely.
Well, I had the thought if we're just thinking about total speculation, one way you could give everyone an incredible scene, Kenobi's coming out in 2022. What if you do give maybe even just in the first episode one scene, like let's say Luke returns Grogu for some reason after maybe it's been a year of training, and maybe say, but in the first episode, you got Luke Skywalker again, and what if you got Force Ghost Yoda and Force Ghost Obi-Wan now played by Ewan McGregor that show up? I mean, it could happen.
We can dream.
I can dream. We dreamed this
Just
one
like
up.
just like we dreamed about Luke. And hey, you never know.
I think Brad would lose his shit if they get a Force Ghost Qui-Gon in season 3.
You best believe it.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Still giving Obi-Wan a hard time. I think that's what Force Ghost Qui-Gon would do. Would give Force Ghost Obi-Wan a hard time because that's his job. Training never ends. Don't remember that, kids. Your training is never over. But yeah, they've shown that everything is on the table now, and no one's expectations got subverted. We all got what we wanted, and look, we're all happy. That's a crazy business model. I don't know why you would go with that business model, but it wasn't cheesy. It wasn't just fan service. It was a great story, and we're all happy about it without our expectations being subverted. So Lucasfilm, Disney, this is how you do it.
A+.
Yeah.
And I will say real quick, I had heard another reviewer say he made a good point that it's fan service more so. Say in season 1 when you haven't really put in the effort and the time and the characters of this show, and you throw in Luke Skywalker or something, that would feel like fan service. But you've put in the time and the effort and the dedication to where it paid off to now we're here.
Yes.
It makes sense.
To where, as you said, when Luke's standing there, all of our minds and hearts are on Mando and the child. It's not even on Luke in that moment. So
Sure.
yeah, I think that's what shows you it's not just fan service. Like they truly
put in the work.
They earned it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Ready for season 3.
Me
Ready for
too.
season 3.
Let's go.
Bring it. Awesome, ladies and Brad. Thank you so much. And everybody in the chat, thanks for sticking around. We had such a great time discussing this episode. Again, Brad, can you remind us it's chapter what? Book who? What's going on here?
Chapter 16. Chapter 16 of The Mandalorian. The Rescue. Rescue?
The Rescue.
The Rescue.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
what a season finale. Force of Light Entertainment. Natalie, Michelle, thank you very much for joining us. Tell us and our wonderful audience where people can find you.
First off, thank you for having us. We
Yes.
love being here.
Yeah, we've been wanting to have you guys back on too. Yes, always fun to be with our Red 5 family. But you can find us. We are on YouTube at Force of Light Entertainment. We are all places podcasts are. And you can find us on Twitter or Instagram at Force of Light Entertainment.
Excellent, excellent. And Brad, I'm so glad you can join me on this episode.
Well, I think we missed the most important part of this show, and as we say goodbye, I just want to let everybody know that 3 out of 4 people prefer the butt over the scuttle. So as Rose says, I'm the butt to his scuttle. So 3 out of 4 people prefer me over Ro. I don't think Ro realized I was doing that on the scuttlebutt, but here I am. You're welcome that I'm here. Yeah, it's Ro. It's always a pleasure. Thanks for a great show, and we've had a fun couple of months talking about the Mandalorian. I think we'll still be doing it here for a little while longer, but we have some new content coming out, and happy to be talking about other things Star Wars as well, and we'll be getting right into it with the Sith and other topics. So we'll still be chatting Mandalorian, but we're going to explore some other things as well, and I'm greatly looking forward to that.
And more mega crossovers with a lot of our Red 5 family. I just love these shows when we invite folks over. It's really great to chat with everybody and have everybody in the chat as well on our Scarif Lives. Brad, it was an amazing time for you to hang out with me.
It was the pleasure was all mine, I assure you.
Yes. Did you finish your beer?
Of course, Sam Adams is
Of course.
There you go. There you go.
And whenever Luke Skywalker is in the building, it is always sunny on Scarif. And that, dear friends, is the Scuttlebutt.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.